जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uh, I have selected this topic of unique research design for laboratory medicine, and I've been talking on this topic previously also. Uh, you can say this is one of my favorite topics, and some of the slides may be repetition for uh, many of you, and for that I really apologize. But the thing is that I want to emphasize our younger colleagues to select those topics for research which are very peculiar to laboratory. Now, why I talk about this and what is the background of uh, this talk? Actually, I see many of our students, postgraduate students, when in bewilderness, when they want to see the topic of their, they want to research for the topic of their uh, thesis, dissertation, not of PhD, but of a CPS or a MPhil, or for the purpose of other research requirements. So I see that they usually follow those patterns, those designs, which are very peculiar to the clinicians. They are good designs, and I don't say that they should not follow them, but there are certain research designs which are peculiar for diagnostic sciences. So we will mostly talking about those research designs, and in next 30 or 40 minutes, I'll give you some background of these designs as well as some examples of publications which have recently appeared in various journals. Since I am a chemical pathologist, so most of the examples are of chemical pathology. So please bear with me for that. So usual research designs are association studies, genetic association, case control, cohort studies, frequency studies, and uh, randomized control trials and quasi-experimental trials. Out of these designs, uh, RCTs and quasi-experimental trials, they are good research designs, and these studies are well taken by the journals. And but you have to cater for the ethical requirements and certain other things. Only then you can carry them out. And uh, I will not discourage my students. I will uh, adopt these designs. Uh, ये please mic बंद कर दें. Please turn off your mics. But as far as association studies are concerned, or frequency studies, now journals are becoming reluctant to accept these articles, especially those journals which are of uh, impact factor or which are index journals. They do not now accept uh, frequency studies or association studies, and they want analytical or intervention studies. So, but the research designs which are peculiar to laboratory medicine, they are one greatest example is the diagnostic accuracy studies, and second is establishment of reference values, method validation, quality management, laboratory accreditation studies. Now, I will share my experience with you that uh, at the end of this talk, I'll show you some data also that journal editors or journals they accept these designs very much. Why they accept it and they want to publish it because these studies are not very frequent, and secondly, these studies carry a lot of utility in the clinical sciences. For example, if you establish your own reference values of your own population, that would be an excellent thing, and they are they are of great utility. Similarly, determining specificity sensitivity of various tests, they become helpful for the clinician to decide about the value of a test. So that's why they do publish it. Similarly, clinical audits, they are very important. And i- about audits, I would just want to tell you that in your CV, there should be a certain proportion of audits uh, uh, you have done in your career. Because why? Because it shows that you are not working uh, you are not working relentlessly. It shows that you you go see back to what you have done and what are your results. Are you wasting resources or not? Especially for those countries or those societies which are resource constraints, or in which the healthcare is provided by the government. So for example, in United Kingdom, where there is a big national health service, they do a lot of clinical audits. Why? To see if for example a test is done and it is not showing any good results, so they would like to stop it or modify it or uh, reconsider it. So that's why clinical audits are very important. And lastly, outcome studies. I will not talk about this, but just uh, this is a detail. These studies are ordered, but with much more extensive spectrum. Now, especially in United States, they are doing these studies. For example, I will just give you one example, and we will discussion about outcome studies for another session. For example, a new test has been started in a hospital. So, what outcome study will do that it will compare the hospital expenses before the start of this test and after the starting of this test. That means they want to explore, they want to dig out whether this test has improved healthcare in terms of money, in terms of patient stay in the hospital, in terms of readmission of the patient to the hospital or not. If if you say that this test is a tumor marker and it is
उसको
excellent.
देखना है, उसके बाल को ज्यादा देखना है, मेरे को कम देखना है। ये सिर्फ बैग मेरा पड़ा है, केडी तुम उसके।
नदीम भाई जरा माइक ऑफ कर दें, आपकी आवाज आ रही। So they would say if somebody claims that this is an excellent tumor marker and it provides early diagnosis, good prognosis, okay, you start this test and then you compare the results of the outcome of the patients um, before this test was started and after this test. So they are not easy to carry out. Of course, there are many confounding factors also, but these studies are now coming up. Now we come to the diagnostic accuracy studies. Diagnostic accuracy studies are very peculiar to the diagnostic sciences. That means all the fields of pathology, not only chemical pathology, histopathology, microbiology, hematology, immunology, virology, all fields of pathology, the diagnostic accuracy studies are carried out. In addition, radiologists also carry out a lot of diagnostic studies, and sometimes a clinical test is also evaluated by these studies. So I think our students, our junior colleagues, should be very much familiar with these type of studies, and they should plan them and carry out. What are these studies? We must have heard these terms: specificity, sensitivity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value, uh, etc., likelihood ratios, and zero operating characteristic curve. Now, these studies, uh, you know how these studies are carried out, how these are determined, who determines the, how the specificity, sensitivity, and the predictive values, likelihood ratios, they are determined. They are determined by the diagnostic accuracy studies. So, uh, uh, the when you you have started a test, you have just started a new test, or you have changed the indication of that test. For example, previously this test was done for tuberculosis. Now you want to do it for viral diseases also. So you will carry out the diagnostic accuracy study and determine its these all six parameters or seven parameters, and that data will be very useful for the healthcare providers, clinicians, because then they will know uh, that this test is of uh, where it stands in the management, in the diagnosis management of this particular disease. So that's why these studies are of greater utility. So in diagnostic accuracy studies, results from a index test. Index test means this test which is new, which you want to evaluate, are compared with the results obtained from a gold standard. Now the gold standard means this test which is already established, which is well known
Yeah.
and accuracy is established. Now the new term for gold standard is reference standard. Uh, but just to, in easy words, I want to tell you what is gold standard, why it is called gold standard. Because gold is a one commodity in the market, which is usually its price is stable, it's usually going up. Very rarely it comes down. So this term is used that anything which is of greater value, established value, they are called gold standard, but the term is changed now. It is reference standard. Such accuracy studies are a step in the evaluation of new tests. May be used for new employment of an existing diagnostic system. Maybe you have changed. Now there are claims that this test is good for this particular disease. Then you will carry out. You have to do so. If you know that the sensitivity of if, this test of a particular test, now I give you an example of IL-6. IL-6 is an acute phase reactant. We know that the IL-6 is an acute phase reactant and it is raised in various bacterial infections. But when this came COVID-19, it was found that IL-6 is a very good marker for early diagnosis of cytokine storm. Cytokine storm, you know, is a crucial stage in the disease progress, disease course, COVID-19. So now you have to determine the specific sensitivity of IL-6 in COVID-19. You cannot use the same specific sensitivity which you had for the bacterial infections. Now, for diagnostic accuracy, there are four essential pillars or four essential components, and they are abbreviated or acronym as PERT, PIRT, PERT. So, first, the P stand for the patient. It is a very much clinical study. You need to have a group of patients or suspected cases. Maybe patients, maybe suspected patients. For example, in you want to carry out the diagnostic accuracy of IL-6 in COVID-19, you will you will have a group of patients who will have uh, who are all COVID positive, but some of them have gone into cytokine storm, and the others are suspected to have gone into cytokine storm. So, so very important. Please understand this, that for diagnostic accuracy studies, you have to have a nice mix of two populations. That means the actual patients and the prospective patients. Now, you cannot compare it with normal, what is the in inverted commas, the normal controls. So, if very, I will put in COVID patients suspected of cytokine storm, you cannot compare it with the general population. The people say that I took healthy, perfectly healthy people as control. No, for diagnostic accuracy, you cannot use the healthy controls, disease-free controls. Uh, okay, I'll give you another example of amylase, serum amylase for acute pancreatitis. So you will have a mix of patients with pancreatitis and patients suspected of pancreatitis. So what population you will include? Patients with the abdominal pain, upper abdominal pain. And you, for example, your gold standard is some radiological technique, for example, MRI. I'm just giving an example. I don't know what should be the gold standard. For example, uh, for acute pancreatitis, you take gold standard uh, MRI and or any other imaging technique. So you will, what you will take do is you will take a certain number of patients of severe upper abdominal pain, and then you will carry out the index test, which in this particular example it is the lab test, amylase test, and you will have a reference standard or gold standard. And in this particular example, it is the imaging, for example, MRI. So you will carry out both index tests and reference tests in patients suspected of that particular disease. So you cannot do मैं ज़रा उर्दू बोल लेता हूँ, सॉरी, if you permit me. हमारे यहाँ बड़ा एग्जांपल ये बड़ा कॉमन है कि लोग क्या करते हैं कि वो मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स को एज कंट्रोल ग्रुप ले लेते हैं, जो हेल्दी वॉलंटियर्स हैं. इस इन स्टडीज में आप ये नहीं कर सकते. आप medical students, you cannot take healthy medical students as control. All the patients and the uh, will be those who are suspected of that particular disease. And target condition, this is for example, if you are doing a mileage for pancreatitis, the data will be of pancreatitis only. Some after, for example, some people, someone says that mileage is also a good test for parotid infection, but that particular study will not be useful for amylase in the diagnosis of parotid infection. We have to carry out another study for that. So, and which is of a mix of the positive and the suspected patients, index test, reference standard, and target condition. Now, since many of the participants are histopathologists, I will appreciate that usually the gold standard or reference standard is histopathology, biopsy, because that clearly shows, for example, a very common example is given of FNA, fine needle aspiration biopsy of CA breast. Now, be what will be the gold standard or reference standard? The actual biopsy, and FNA we want to evaluate. So uh, now the question is, why do you want another test when you have a biopsy available for the diagnosis of CA breast? Because biopsy is an invasive procedure. It cannot be repeated multiple times. But FN, on the other hand, FNA is not an invasive, very less invasive, and you can do it multiple times. So, uh, whenever you want a test which is less cost effective, which is cost effective, which is easy to perform, which can be repeated. So you, but the gold standard is which is invasive, which is expensive, which cannot be repeated. So these are the characteristics of gold standard. So reference standards can be a single test or a combination of methods. Sometimes you may say that goats, I will take imaging as well as clinical presentation as gold standard. I will take imaging plus histopathology as gold standard, whatever you say. But the important thing is now what I'm going to tell to you that gold standard is that test which you cannot challenge. That means once you decide that this will be my gold standard, the results of gold standard will be taken final. For example, if your index test says that it is the disease is not present, it is negative, while gold standard says it is positive, you will say in this particular case that your index test is false negative. So reference standard is final. If reference standard says it is positive, it is negative, while your index test says it is positive, you will say it is false positive. So once you have decided that this is the reference standard, this is the gold standard, you have to believe it, and you cannot change once you have started this study. Now, this is a example of the study. I have now omitted the authors. The diagnostic accuracy of anti-cyclic citrullinate peptide antibodies in rheumatoid arthritis. The rheumatoid factor, RA factor, has been taken as the gold standard. Now, what is the problem in this? Uh, the problem is that RA factor has been taken as gold standard. So, but gold standard has to be very sensitive and very specific. It has to be high, 95% sensitivity, 95% more than 91 specificity. Another question is, if such an accurate test is already available, then what is the requirement of another test? So RA factor, if it is as good as 95% specificity and sensitivity, then you continue with this. Try to carry out, introduce another much costly test like ACCP. So you cannot take such test as a gold standard because usually gold standard is expensive, requires more expertise, or it is invasive. Whereas rheumatoid factor is very easy to perform, but it is not specific and sensitive. So here, if you want to do diagnostic accuracy, determine diagnostic accuracy of ACCP, you have to use a that modality which has got very high specificity and sensitivity, but which has some problem. For example, it is expensive or it is invasive. So you cannot use RA factor because RA factor is of much less specificity and sensitivity. So this is the flow chart of the diagnostic accuracy study. You select a series of patients. You determine there is an index test if you want to evaluate. There is a reference or gold standard, and you compare the results of the index test with the reference standard. Now I will give you the examples of diagnostic accuracy study articles. And once again, I apologize that these examples are from the chemical pathology, and but uh, this is to give you a confidence that such studies are accepted and published quite frequently. Now, this the first example, diagnostic accuracy of human chorionic gonadotropin stimulation test, HCG stimulation test in XY disorders of sex development, XY-DSD, presented in Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. And it is published in August, very recent article, very quite recent article. It is published in an index journal, probably the highest impact factor journal in Pakistan, JPMA. So, just to give you a confidence that if you do diagnostic accuracy studies, journals do accept it and they publish it. And because why? Because this this information is very useful for management of patients. Another article published in another journal, which is the CPSP, and which is again impact factor and index journal, diagnostic accuracy of serum iron and total iron binding capacity in iron deficiency state. So you see the article published in quite good journal in 2016. Then diagnostic accuracy of automated capillary electrophoresis. Automatic capillary electrophoresis is a diagnostic modality for various diseases, and it is a very useful test nowadays. And there are a lot of studies coming up. So it is the again a diagnostic accuracy study published in our own journal, Pakistan Journal of Pathology, which is the Journal of Pakistan Association of Pathologists in 2016. Then evaluation of random plasma glucose in type 2 diabetes mellitus, published in Journal of the CPSP in 2017. Then a novel clinical biochemical score for screening of inherited metabolic diseases in children. This was again of a diagnostic accuracy study. A new scoring system was devised and it was evaluated, and specificity, sensitivity, and all those uh, parameters they were determined. Specificity, sensitivity, positive likelihood ratio, negative likelihood ratio, predictive values, they were determined. And I remember this article went without any review. This is probably very astonishing that we sent this article and it was accepted right away. There was not a single observation from any reviewer and published in an index journal in 2018. Then second type of diagnostic studies are reference values. This study is this design is very useful and not very complicated. It's quite doable and you can do it. Everyone can do it. So reference value can be in disease-free individuals. It can be you can select a group of certain group of patients, for example, in pregnant women, in special age groups, for example, in or elderly disease population. Yes, you will astonish to know that we can determine reference values in disease population. For example, you want to know what is the usually ALT in hepatitis E. Uh, there are a lot of cases of hepatitis C in Pakistan, and we want to determine that what is the usually the the value ALT levels goes in hepatitis E. This is, and I will show an example also. Upper cutoff of that is 99 percentile. So this is a very recent article published in Pakistan Journal of Medical Sciences. This is again a very high impact journal. In fact, it has just been published in September, October 20. Determination of high sensitivity cardiac troponin I 99 percentile upper reference range in a healthy Pakistani population. So this is a reference value study. You see, you must have heard that for top I, you do not use the usual reference ranges, usual reference value. Rather, you have to use the upper 99 percentile. Now, upper 99 percentile, not very difficult to determine, and you can determine in disease-free individuals. This article was again just took 2-3 months, and it got published. Dr. Kulsum was my FCPS training. Okay, then this is another example determination of reference levels of thyroid markers during pregnancy in urban area of district Rawalpindi, and again published in Journal of Pakistan Medical Association, JPMA. Again, this article didn't take much time, and it was accepted just after one review, because they uh, probably the editors thought that this is very useful information. The article is providing the information which has not been provided previously for Pakistani pregnant women, so that's why they accept it. Determination of mean glycated hemoglobin in healthy adults of local population. HbA1c for this was a very large study, and it was part of a larger study also study group. Uh, Almost more than 558 uh, subjects were included, and we determined the cutoff for HbA1c for pre-diabetes and diabetes. So this is again a very useful study. Determination of medians of biochemical maternal serum markers in healthy women giving birth to normal babies. You must have heard the term maternal screening, maternal biochemical screening. So sometimes you have to determine the medians for certain biochemical markers. Then you can compare those medians with the what you call MOMs, multiple of medians, and that is a very useful information. So this again is a sort of reference value studies. This was published in January 2018. Then method validation, it's a sort, you can say it is a non-clinical study, purely laboratory studies, and if usually our senior technologists, they are quite familiar with these studies, and they they do carry out. But I think we must plan these studies in our if you are for 4 years you are in a training program, we must do 2 3 method validations. They are very important lab procedures for proper healthcare delivery, usually carried out before the start of a new test, can be done during the diagnostic service to assess an error. Pathologists should publish their work for the. I've also seen that pathologists, they do carry out method validations, but they don't. They think that this is not a worth publication data. No, this data is very important, and they must preserve it and then present it to some uh, uh, journals, and then it will be duly published. Now, this is the example of method validation studies. Comparison of turbidimetric inhibition immunoassay, high performance liquid chromatography, and capillary electrophoresis method for a glycosylated hemoglobin combination. In this article, in this study, we compared three different methods for hemoglobin determination. And you see, it is published in an international journal of impact factor. The Lab Medicine, which is a journal of American Association of Clinical Pathologists, and published from the Oxford University Press. So, and it was published in March 2020, the very recent publication. So sometimes my students ask which is the good journal for the botany articles. I think this Lab Medicine is a good journal, and they usually they are not very stingy, and they do accept articles for publication. Another example is evolution of a new high performance liquid chromatography based method for voriconazole analysis of blood analysis in blood. So yes, this was study was rather of high. It involved very highly sophisticated equipment of HPLC, but again, this is an important information. Probably this was the very original study, because voriconazole was not evaluated for. Then development and validation of a liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry method for cannabis detection in hair of chronic cannabis users under surveillance. And again, it was in at AFIP, and they very this study was of very high utility, because they developed and then they carried out validation of a analytical method using human hair, uh, cannabis in human hair, because in human hair the cannabis stays quite long, more than in urine. So I think the studies we should have sent it to um, an, uh, an international journal, but due to some reason we publish it locally. Bilirubin interference in plasma amino acid analysis by ion exchange chromatography. Now you see, um, you can. This is an example of you can carry out for any test. For example, you can determine the bilirubin interference in any hormone analysis, in any new test which has just been started. For example, you can do it in virology testing and for anything. So interference study is one of the method validation study, and you can uh, do it and then publish it in your article is accepted, inshallah. Then you can, if you have run a program and you have done some validation or external quality assurance program, you can send it to EGIFC is the Electronic Journal of International Federation of Clinical Chemistry. So they are very quick in response. Either they accept it or send it back. And probably this article was probably within 1 month, if I remember it. So yeah, you can send this data to the IFCC. Then this article was estimation of uncertainty measurement, a prerequisite of 15, ISO 15189, accreditation for clinical laboratories. It was published in Journal of Pakistan Medical Association, and it was a marvelous study by Dr. Sir Iqbal from Dow Medical University. And so, if you can some procedure related to laboratory accreditation, then you can publish it. Audit reports. Periodic audits are essential for viable running of any healthcare service. So laboratory directors and consultant colleagues should lead in carrying out audits and amend their policies accordingly. Audit reports, I told you earlier, that your CV must contain a few audit reports that will show that you analyze your work periodically. This was cost effectiveness of screening and confirmatory tests for multiple myeloma in Pakistani population, an audit report. And it was published very quickly and with very less observations, they accepted it. Now, a few statistical analysis. 25 years analysis of a publication up to 2018. Diagnostic accuracy index journal 7, local journal 5, total 12. Reference values 2 in index journal, 1 in local journal, total 3. Method validation 3 each and total 6. Audit report 1. Other design frequency study 45, accession study 23, RCT 3, and case reports 6. So, index the proportion of uh, unique designs published in index journal was quite high. It means nearly 24, nearly 30%. Whereas in local journals, they were less, 86%. In local journal, and, and unique design was 34% in international journal. On the other hand, uh, only 16% in local journals. Mostly the studies were of diagnostic accuracy because they are more useful, but you can do reference values also, and they will also be quite useful. Reviewing time. We have observed that the reviewing time in months of diagnostic accuracy was the lowest, only 5 months. Average. This is average reviewing time. Maybe sometimes it takes longer time, but average it is 5 months. Whereas in other studies it is 10 months. So journals usually prefer it, and they uh, because the articles are quite fewer and they want to increase the spectrum also. That's why they publish it. And secondly, as I told you earlier, they are of our studies are of greater utility for the patient. So my take-home message is studies like diagnostic accuracy, reference values, and audit reports are of high clinical utility. While studies based on quality management, method validation, and lab accreditation are of great significance for all pathology disciplines. These studies have higher acceptance rates and shorter publication time. Lab medicine staff should plan and execute these studies more frequently. Thank you very much and best of luck. Any questions for next 2 3 minutes? We are open for any question. Please unmute your mic and ask questions or send it in the chat. You can also send it in the chat. Dr. Nadeem, I have read your question. You have said that the reference values are established in healthy population, whereas clinical decision limits are established, including both health. Yes, you are right. Reference values are for healthy population, and clinical decision limit should be a mix of healthy and disease population. But what I gave example that rarely you can do reference values in disease in a single disease. In that case, you will not have you will not include healthy population in that study. I give you an example that you want to know that what is the peak of ALT, what is the usual ALT pattern in hepatitis E. These are very rare studies, but you can do it. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other? I have questions, sir. Want to ask reference travel study for therapeutic drugs? Oh, yes, very good, Dr. Shabnam. Excellent question. If you don't mind, because you are like my daughter, very dear to me, and also I can claim that you are my student. These are, when you are talking of drugs, please don't call them the reference intervals. They are not reference intervals. They are therapeutic ranges. And for chemical pathology, I'm now talking to my chemical pathology students. If you are using, you are doing some test, for example, you are doing tacrolimus or you are doing cyclosporine, and you have written reference value in your report, I will be very angry with you because they are not reference values, as we discussed earlier. They are usually done in healthy population. No, tacrolimus will not be present in healthy population. Cyclosporine will not be present in healthy. So you don't use the term reference values. You use the term therapeutic ranges. Okay, so you must amend it. This is the difference of a qualified pathologist or qualified chemical pathologist, that he or she will never use uh, uh, in the reports. Now, IT people will create problems that, madam, we can't change it because it is for all but you have to insist. You should not give wrong information. This is not reference value. These are ranges. Okay. Acknowledgement, sir, audit reports are considered important as, yes, they are published articles. They are very much articles, although they are not taken as original article. Now, let me clarify it that audit reports will not be counted towards your requirement for becoming associate and professors. But as I told you earlier, that your CV becomes more beautiful if you have added audit reports in it, but they will not be counted as original articles. But still, they can be your the Dr. Uh, Dr. Nabila Roof. You have raised your hand. Please unmute your mic. or you write your question. You can write your question in the chat box also.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, वो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स के था वो क्लैरिफाई हो
ओके ओके ठीक।
गया वो
लेकिन बाकी सारे जो है ना, जितनी मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दी हैं,
क्वेश्चन ना, थैंक यू सो मच।
हाँ,
वो मैं से
रेफरेंस वैल्यूज वाली और डायग्नोस्टिक एक्यूरेसी और क्वालिटी मैनेजमेंट वगैरह, they should be published uh, as original articles. Sometimes journal will say that uh, in one or two incidents, journal said that we will publish it as clinical practice. There is another type of publication these days. They call it clinical practice article. Clinical practice articles, they are not taken as original articles. But you insist that I don't want to publish it as a clinical practice. I want to publish it as original article. Especially if you want to complete your requirement. But if you are already a consultant and you are a professor, you can publish it as clinical practice also. Any other questions?
Dr. Amir, can I talk for 1 minute?
Oh yes, please,
Professor
sir.
Mulazim?
Let me first
Okay.
thank you. Let me first thank you for being here, being so supportive to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this nice presentation, especially on the research. And there are so many beautiful questions of the students. One of the question was developing our own values. Yes, I think you can do it, but if you have your own cohort study, that is very difficult in Pakistan and something else. One thing. Second thing is audit report must be do and be published, especially in the laboratory medicine, to
Sir, आपकी आवाज चली गई है.
compare our data and our previous data and something.
Yes,
It's very difficult.
Yes, you are right. Audit reports are very useful, and especially if you plan to go to UK or countries like that, they will appreciate if you have done a lot of audit work. Any other question?
Even Sir Amir, even also I have published 2 audit reports. You can even also publish audit reports of your own labs.
Yes, exactly.
And you compare the audits. Yes. So these things are very important for the research. I think this research is a very dry subject. और इस subject को आप जैसे मैं तो आपको कहूँगा नौजवान है, आप जैसे नौजवान इसको वो करेंगे तो इंशाल्लाह I am very happy on this your topic, especially taking interest. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Now this I've been conducting workshops also of diagnostic accuracy and reference value studies. So it requires a full 5-6 hours workshop to give you some details. So if anybody interested, I am available. We can do it online, or we can do it. I think we cannot do it online. We have to be present, and then we can conduct it. But on the other hand, I am available as usual. If you have any personal queries of your research and you have stuck up somewhere, I can help you, and whatever I know. And I also request Professor Mulazim and other seniors to be helpful, and he's always helpful. I'm not saying he's not, but he is, mashallah, like what should I say, not by age.
बिल्कुल I'm with.
He's father of pathology, mashallah. He's father of pathology.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes,
नहीं मुलाजिम हुसैन साहब को क्रेडिट दे दें. एंड ब्रिगेडियर आमिर, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर नाइस मतलब टॉक एंड गिव द.
सर आवाज चली गई आपकी.
यंगस्टर्स मतलब जनवो दी रेफरेंस वैल्यूज एंड ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. आमिर एजाज
जी अब आ रही. ठीक है सर, इंशाल्लाह. I think we have a nice start of CME activity, and we can plan now a series of such activities in future also. Thank you very much, sir. चूंकि अभी मगरिब का टाइम.
Dr. Amir, I will offer. Dr. Amir Ejaz, I will offer.
Sir.
If and even
सर दोबारा बोलेंगे? सर आपकी आवाज कट रही है।
Sir,
क्या कह रहे हैं?
whenever you start this series, I am ready to give the workshop how
Okay.
to write the paper, how to submit
Yes,
the paper,
yes.
how to search the references, how to cite the references.
ठीक है, ठीक, बिल्कुल सही है सर। वो हम एक सीरीज कर लेते हैं अरेंज, और पैप के प्लेटफॉर्म पे हम रिसर्च के उस पे हम कर लेंगे इंशाल्लाह। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच लेडीज एंड gentlemen, and I'm so delighted that you about 30 participants we had today, and I'll try the recording of this today's talk is available on YouTube soon, inshallah, and then you can see it later on also. Thank you very much, and Allah Hafiz.